I find the NBA really hard to follow and hard to cover at times. There's like 10 games every single day. And by the time you like go, okay, what happened in these 10 games? There's another 10 the next day. And it's hard to keep up, in my opinion. And so here's my answer to that. Here's how I'm going to follow the NBA this year through February. Once February hits and the NFL is over, then we'll start following the NBA a little bit differently. But for the next, couple months, once a week, I'm going to check in on the NBA, what's going on in the NBA. I'll try to do it every Wednesday night. I'll wait till the games are over, then record a podcast like at 11 o'clock at night. It'll come out on Thursday morning. Currently, it's Thanksgiving. There's no games today, thank goodness. So, okay, I can take a break. And what's going on in the NBA? We've played about 18 games so far in the NBA season. And if the playoffs started today, here's how the Eastern Conference playoffs would shake out. The number 1 seed would be the Milwaukee Bucks. They're 15-3. Number 2, you have the Boston Celtics. They're 13-4. The Raptors are also 13-4. The Miami Heat, number 4, they're 12-5. The 76ers are 12-6. The Pacers are 11-6. The Brooklyn Nets are 9-9. And the number 8 seed right now, if the playoffs started today, would be the Orlando Magic at 7-10. Here's what's interesting to me. Last in the NBA Eastern Conference are the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. They are 4-14. We'll get into them in a minute. But first, I want to say that I feel really sad for the Washington Wizards. I do. They're 6-10. They're 9th in the East. They're like on the cusp of being a playoff team. And man, Bradley Beal, they just signed him to a big contract. He's averaging 30 points a game. He's playing phenomenal. But they have no John Wall. Their star player. They pay John Wall $38 million a year. He tore his Achilles last year. He missed the rest of last year after December. He's not going to play it all this year. And by the time he comes back next year, John Wall will be 30 years old. He's making $38 million a year to do nothing, and I think it's crippling the Wizards, and I feel bad for them. I really think that it's sad that John Wall's career has never been what I really kind of wanted it to be as a number 1 overall pick, and just never really, he's been solid, just never really delivered, and I think it's crippling that Wizards franchise, and it's just sad, because they're a team that's on the cusp. They just need one more star player, and their star player is missing time, and I don't know that he's going to return the same. He tore his Achilles, which is hard to return from. He's getting older. He's over 30. He'll be over 30 by the time he comes back. Disappointing for the Wizards. Now, the top 5 leading scorers, these are the top 5 leading scorers right now in the NBA. You have James Harden scoring 37 points per game. Number 2, you have Giannis, who's got 31 points per game. That's awesome. His team is number 1 in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks. I hope it stays that way. I'm curious if Giannis can take his team even farther this year. But hey, good for him. That's awesome. The 3rd leading scorer is the big surprise to me that I want to get into in a minute. It's Luka Doncic. He's averaging 30 points per game. Awesome, man. I really have enjoyed watching him this year. The 4th leading scorer is Bradley Beal. He's got 29 points per game. And then Damian Lillard with the Portland Trail Blazers is averaging 27 points per game. Those are the 5 leading scorers right now in the NBA. I want to talk, though, we'll get into all those guys and talk about their years and how it's going. It's funny seeing the Atlanta Hawks struggle. They're 4-14. They're last in the Eastern Conference. And, it's really, really funny, especially because you're watching the Hawks struggle while the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic are thriving. The Hawks drafted Luka, and then they traded him away for Trae Young. Now, Trae Young is doing great. Trae Young's phenomenal. He's averaging 26 points per game. That makes me incredibly happy. I've always wanted Trae Young to succeed. The team around him, though, isn't very good. Now, what's weird is Trae Young's good, probably going to be he's going to be an all-star. We can all acknowledge he's going to be a superstar in the making. But the even bigger star right now is Luka Doncic, and he looks like not just all my friends that play college basketball are saying Trae Young's good. Luka is like generational next level talent. He's phenomenal. He's 20 years old. He's 3rd in the league in points per game. He's averaging, what was that I said a minute ago? He's averaging 30 points per game. Luka is. That's unbelievable. And here's what's funny. The Hawks drafted Luka number 3 overall, then traded him to the Dallas Mavericks. They had him on their team. They drafted him. And they didn't believe in him. They traded him away for Trae Young. Don't blame him. Trae Young has been great. But man, it's just funny that the Hawks had him. They're last in the Eastern Conference, and they had one of the best young players in the league on their team and decided to move on from him. Now, the other worst team in the Eastern Conference, you have the Hawks at 4-14 and the New York Knicks at 4-14. They also had Luka's co-star, Kristaps Porzingis, on their team. It's really cool how the Dallas Mavericks have been built. They traded for Luka. They traded for Kristaps. Now, the Knicks got a haul for Kristaps Porzingis, got 2 first-round picks. They got Dennis Smith Jr., they got DeAndre Jordan. And Kristaps had injury concerns. He really, in fact, right now, his status is day-to-day. I don't blame the Knicks for saying we don't really believe in Kristaps because we don't know he's that big of a star. He's had injury problems. We don't want to deal with it. And right now, he's only averaging, I say only, still solid, 18 points per game. But again, all my friends that played college basketball that watched Kristaps Porzingis say, yeah, the Knicks were wrong. They missed out on a guy. They didn't see his potential, and the potential's there. And so it's just interesting to me that, the Mavericks have these 2 young stars, Kristaps and Luka. And the teams that traded those players away are both 4 and 14 right now. It's just interesting to me. It's a funny storyline to follow. Now, I think the Hawks are in a good shape, the good position for the future. They have Trae Young. They got to build around Trae Young. It's not Trae Young's fault that his team is 4 and 14, but I just thought, hey, that's a funny number. That's interesting. I want to talk about that. Now, the Boston Celtics are 13 and 4. Their star point guard from last year, Kyrie Irving, went to the Brooklyn Nets. He said, I'm done. I'm leaving. On Wednesday, the Boston Celtics beat the Nets 121 to 110. Bam. They said, hey, we won. You took Kyrie. Kyrie, by the way, didn't play. He has a shoulder injury. He's out. And even more fun is the Celtics replacement point guard, Kemba Walker, the guy that replaced Kyrie Irving, had 39 points against Kyrie's new team, and Kyrie didn't play. To me, that's just a fun rivalry between the Nets and the Celtics. I just want to. It's New York and Boston. It's just cool to me. I can't wait to watch how that rivalry develops throughout the year. Kyrie versus Boston, New York versus Boston, Boston versus New York. That's to me, like if you're a lover of stories, man, that's a story that's phenomenal that I just think is great and really fun to follow. Now, here's an interesting little tidbit. Former 76er Jimmy Butler criticized his former teammates recently. Jimmy Butler said some of his former teammates didn't work as hard as him. He questions their reason for playing. Look, I get it. Some guys just want a paycheck. Hey, man, you want to get paid? Great, do it. But Jimmy Butler said not everyone on the Philadelphia 76ers, when he played there, shared the team's goal of winning a championship. Here's what's great now. The sweet irony of it. Jimmy Butler now plays for the Miami Heat. His team is 12 and 5. Right now, they're 4th in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if that'll stay that way. But the 76ers are behind the Heat. They're behind Jimmy Butler with a better roster, by the way. They're 12 and 6. Jimmy Butler's 4th. The 76ers are 5th. Jimmy Butler's played 1 fewer game, so who knows if they might be both 12 and 6 in the next day. But right now, it's just funny to watch. And the 76ers, man, they have a ton of stars. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Al Horford, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson. Star player after star player. All 5 of their starting 5 are just star players. They're incredible. On paper, man, they're unbelievable. And I know we're only 17, 18 games into the year. But still, the expectations for the 76ers should be that they're going to be the top spot in the Eastern Conference. They're 5th right now. And right now, they're underachieving. They're not doing what everyone believes they should be doing. So if you're a 76ers fan, who knows? We're at the beginning of the year. There's plenty of time for them to correct things and get back to the top. But right now, they're a team that should be at the top of their conference, and they're not. Now, here's the other perspective on that. You can say, well, the 76ers are underachieving. Well, again, you would say it's the beginning of the year, and it's 5 stars who've never played together before really coming together and learning how to win together. Okay, fine. I think Al Horford's a great leader in that locker room. Josh Richardson brings really good defense. I am curious to see how the 76ers team evolves. We're going to do every week check-in with the NBA. What happens with the 76ers? Will they start raising up in the standings throughout the year? Every week we'll check in, and I'm hoping and curious to see, do the 76ers slowly and steadily move up with their spot in the Eastern Conference? That's what I'm excited to watch. Now, if the playoffs started today, the Western Conference would look like this. The number 1 seed right now would be the LA Lakers. They're 16 and 2. Wow. They're followed by the Nuggets, who are 13 and 3. The Clippers are 14 and 5. The Rockets are 12 and 6. The Dallas Mavericks are 11 and 6. They're number 6. The Dallas Mavericks are number 5 at 11 and 6. The Utah Jazz would be the 6th seed at 11 and 7. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 10 and 6, 10 and 8. They're the number 7 seed. And the number 8 seed, interestingly enough, would be the Phoenix Suns at 8 and 9. Man, the Phoenix Suns are an interesting young team, in my opinion. They have Ricky Rubio, Devin Booker, Kelly Oubre Jr., And they're seeded in the playoffs right now. The playoffs started today, and they haven't had their young star top pick DeAndre Ayton all year. DeAndre Ayton played one game this year, and then got in trouble for diuretics, which is usually something people use to make their pee differently to pass a drug test. So DeAndre Ayton was suspended for 25 games. Now, personally, here's my weird, I think, opinion on this, is that I think a 25-game suspension for a rookie player, it hurts, right? But also I think it's a blessing in disguise, because going from college basketball and then elevating to the NBA, you add 50 games a year to your legs. In college, you play 32 games a year. In the NBA, you play 82 games a year. That's hard on your knees and your joints. You're going every single night. You're flying to new places, man. That's tough. And I think missing 25 games for a rookie like center, DeAndre Ayton, I think that's honestly a blessing in disguise for their team. He'll show up fresh later in the year. That's really weirdly, but I think great for their team. He'll come back fresh. He'll be good. Now, here's what's interesting. In his one game he played this year, he had 18 points and 11 rebounds. The dude can play. He played in 33 minutes. Man, DeAndre Ayton can ball. He's there. And I think he'll come back later, be fresh. He'll add to that roster and make them even better. The Phoenix Suns, they're a young team. They're building something. They're not great. They're 8-9. They're not like amazing. But right now they're the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and they're a rising team. I'm curious to watch how they fare throughout the rest of this year. Now the Trailblazers, it's wild. They're 7-12. Right now the Trailblazers, if the year started today, the Blazers wouldn't even make the Western Conference playoffs. Zach Collins got hurt. Yusuf Nurkic got hurt. And they were so desperate, they actually signed Carmelo Anthony, who's honestly been fun to watch. Carmelo Anthony, the other night, on Monday, he had 25 points against Chicago. On Wednesday, he had 19 points against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Carmelo Anthony's not a star player. But in my opinion, you watch, the dude can still contribute 18 points a night. He's not bad. He's solid. And he's really brought an interesting flair to that team. But here's the reality. It feels to me like Damian Lillard, the star of the Portland Trailblazers. He's the 5th leading scorer in the NBA right now. It feels to me like he's wasting the prime of his career in Portland. Now, you can never, ever accuse me of being a homer. I just made a topic where I said Anthony Gordon, the quarterback at my former college where I went to school, is not getting an NFL quarterback. And now I'm saying Damian Lillard should leave Portland. I live in the Portland metro area. Never, ever, ever accuse me of fandom or having a bias. I don't care. I love players. I love storylines. In my opinion, Damian Lillard should leave Portland. It pains me every year to watch a good player who I like, who's a good leader, struggle and not to underachieve every year when I really wish he'd be playing with a better group of players. I want to see Damian Lillard leave Portland. Go to a better team. Go get help. Go play at a better franchise. Portland is great for Lillard. They love him. It's cool, but I really think Damian Lillard underachieves every single year because he's in Portland. And it just makes me sad. He's embraced the city. He loves them. They love him. But I really think Damian Lillard is wasting the prime of his career staying with the Portland Trailblazers, and it just makes my heart sad. Now, the Lakers are 16-2. They're number 1 in the West, and LeBron is going for it, man. In November so far, he's been playing really, really hard. And it's weird because usually LeBron James kind of, he conserves his energy throughout the year and turns it up leading into the playoffs. No, he's been going really hard. There are only 2 losses of the year for the Lakers. They lost to the Clippers in the first game of the year, and later down the road, they lost to the Raptors. Anthony Davis is averaging 26 points per game. LeBron James is averaging 25. Both are top 2 in rebounds on their team. And oddly enough, man, I think that part of why the LeBron James is slowing down, is accelerating and playing so hard is because the Clippers are 14-5. They're number 3 in the West. And, the Clippers are 2.5 games behind the Lakers in the Western Conference. And they had Paul George out for a while. I think LeBron James said, well, Paul George is out. We're going to just extend that lead. I'm going to play really hard. We're going to get to a good spot. I think LeBron James is aware enough to say, hey, well, Paul George is out. We got to be the best team in LA, the most interesting, best team in Los Angeles. That, to me, is what LeBron James is doing. Now, the Clippers are only 3rd in the West, and they just got Paul George back. I think if you give the Clippers a little bit of time, you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George learning how to play together. They're at some point, I think, going to climb to the top of the Western Conference. And the battle of LA, LeBron at the top, the Clippers at 3rd. Their battle is they're neck and neck between with each other. I just am so excited to watch. And throughout the weeks, we'll check in every week. what happens between the Lakers and the Clippers and their battle with each other. I really think it's just going to take a little bit of time, but eventually, I think the Clippers are going to be challenging the Lakers at that top spot. Now, oddly enough, the Golden State Warriors are the worst team in the NBA right now. They're 14 and they're 4. Excuse me. The Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, are 4-15. There's a reason for this. If you haven't been following the NBA, if you are an NBA fan, you know all this stuff. But Klay Thompson's out for the year with a torn ACL, and Steph Curry has a broken hand. He's going to miss significant time the next couple months. They might just say scratch him for the rest of the year. Here's what's interesting. The Warriors right now, if they get a top pick going into next year, if the Warriors have a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, they get a great player, and then you add Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, not to mention the people they already have. Oh my gosh. I think, man, the Warriors are getting prepared to make a gigantic comeback and really succeed down the road in the future. So, I just think keep your eye on the Golden State Warriors next year. They're gonna. I think they're kind of tanking this year. They're not really trying to win. I think we'll really know that if they say Steph is out for the rest of the year. He could be back in March. If they say Steph's done for the year, they're saying we are going to get a top pick in the draft and then return with Steph, Klay, and a top pick. Not to mention D'Angelo Russell. Man, I think that, and Draymond Green if he stays. Man, I really, really am excited to watch the future of the Warriors. They're out this year. They're scratched. It's funny how they went from the top to the complete bottom, but they're not done forever. They're going to get back to where I think they were at one point and be competitive. So keep your eye on the Golden State Warriors and what they do the rest of this year as they hopefully, if you're a Warriors fan, hopefully the Warriors just lose a ton this year and get a top pick for next year's NBA draft. Now, the one team I haven't followed this year is the New Orleans Pelicans. Haven't really watched them, don't know what's going on. I'm curious for next week. How are the Pelicans doing? What's going on? If you're listening to this, please let me know. What storylines in the NBA are you passionate about? What do you care about? What's your team doing? Let me know what's going on with your NBA team and what do you care about in the NBA season so far. And just tell me what storylines you're passionate about, guys. I'm curious, and that's my first check-in to the NBA season. And I'm going to do a weekly update every week. What's going on in the NBA?